let's welcome Thiago Barbosa, all the way from Gold Coast in Australia.
Hello.
Hello, Thiago, welcome. Be very welcome. You have been with us before, and it's a pleasure to have you here. And today you're going to speak about how nature gives abundance. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. Thanks for the people who connected me with Krishna consciousness. The devotees from New Govardhana here in Australia, Jita, Damodar, and the management crew from the farm over here. They are doing an amazing job, and I'm very grateful that they could connect me with you, Kalakanta, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Can you speak a little bit about yourself, and then you can just introduce your topic, and I'll leave you to speak to the audience. You're speaking to the Indian audience, and in India, there's a great potential for agroecology. There are many groups working with it, and I hope that you will start working in that subcontinent, which is huge.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Thiago Barbosa. I started working with researching about agroecology a couple of years ago. And in my journey, I discovered the wonders of agroforestry, and studying more about agroforestry, I found out that there was this methodology in agroforestry called syntropic farming, where where this methodology was developed by a Swiss German living in Brazil named Ernest Götsch. If you guys want to learn more about what is syntropic farming, if you want to see a video, there is a beautiful short documentary on YouTube called Life in Syntropy. So just go on YouTube and type Life in Syntropy, and you'll find more information about it. Since then, since I've discovered this methodology, I've been going back and forth from Brazil many times a year and learning more and more about how great it is to understand this house that we live in. What I mean about this house is this planet that we live in, and in this planet that we live, there is some laws and principles. Okay, if you break a law in a city, doesn't matter in each country you are, there are some consequences. You might pay a little fine, you might pay a heavy fine, and depending on how bad you break the law, you might get arrested. In some countries, you can even get sentenced to death, So in this planet that we live, in this house that we live, there is some natural laws that cannot be broken. And one of the laws of this planet is the complexification of life, how to keep life alive, and how we are connected and interconnected with everything that lives here. So, and not only humans, but all the animals, birds, microlife in the soil, everything has a function. And the function of every living being in this planet is not only to keep life alive, but to increase and potentialize and make life better and more abundant. So when Kalakanta said that the theme of this talk would be abundance and how we can create systems of abundance, for our beautiful surprise, we don't need to create the system. The system already exists. It's been working in this planet for billions and billions of years. We just need to understand that we are part of this highly intelligent living organism where everything belongs, everything is connected, and interconnected, and everything's working together towards one goal: to keep life more abundant, to make life more abundant for everything. So I say that little worms, when worms is passing through life, they're not just passing through, they are digesting organic matter, they are improving the soil conditions, and every action or interaction of this microlife in the soil, this living being that lives in the soil, it's only to increase fertility for all the other living beings that lives in there. When plants are coming to this planet, their primary function is to increase conditions through photosynthesis, to transform sunlight into food for us. And every animal, when they are passing through life, they are eating, and their droppings are fertilizing the soil, making it better for everything that comes after it. So for us, that we belong in this planet, we live with everything here, we need to eat. And we need to eat nutritious food. We need to eat abundant food, you know. We don't want to eat, especially in Krishna consciousness. Prasada is a very common thing where every weekend here in Australia there is a feast, and we want to eat very high nutritious food. And how does it come to be that food can be so nutritious? A lot of people might think that food comes out of the shelf at the supermarket, but actually it comes from a system that everything that belongs in the system, it's working to make this system more abundant. And if we want to eat nutritious food, we need to understand how this system that the food comes from, how it works. How can this system provide such an abundance in nutrition for us to eat? And if we step a little bit, if we just think a little bit before that, this energy that comes to us through the food, where does this energy come from? From the sun, and then from the cosmos. And I like that at the temples, after we eat, we sing, we chant to the divine, back to the cosmos. So there is that cycle of energy that keeps uh, cycling through the universe. And in this cycle, if you actually break it down, without a forest, that wouldn't be nutritious food for us, you know. So through this cycle of energy that comes from the cosmos, through the sun, through this planet, and before it gets to us, we there the middlemen are the plants and the forest. And when Kalakant and I, we start talking about cow protection and how to make a better environment for cows, even on his presentation just before, he was showing that lots of cows, and on the sides, well, what did you see? Forests. So the cows, they come from the element forest as well. And every type of food that we eat comes from the element forest as well. So I think that forest for me, it's like a community of plants, animals, root systems, microlife in the soil, and that's everything is working as a community to provide, to service to service life, to keep life more abundant. And if we want to create a system of abundance, if we want to eat nutritious food, we should definitely understand where the food that we eat comes from originally. It comes from a system in a forest. If we want to improve conditions for our animals to live, our domesticated animals to live, we need to understand where these animals comes from on the system forest. And we gotta try to mimic it. And because we don't need to create anything. As I said before, it's being created already. It's already working perfectly. And this system provides everything. It's servicing life, it's keeping life more abundant. And when we're talking about the element human, us in the system that we need to eat and we want to create um, healthy food, nutritious food for us, we need to try to co-create with nature, and try to mimic, replicate agro ecosystems that works perfectly in harmony with nature. And syntropic farming or agroforestry systems, in my understanding, is a beautiful way to make it, to understand how ecosystems function, so we can create agro ecosystems where we can not only provide better life for the animals that we have, we can also create better and nutritious food for us to eat. And after we do all, and while we do all of this, we can leave a better planet behind, not only for us, but for all the wildlife uh, that lives within and around our farms. And that's the purpose of this talk today, was to sparkle the idea in you guys how we are growing our food and how we can better enhance the way that we grow our food. Here on these pictures here, Kalakanta is showing us. Imagine if I was a cow. I would love to live under the shelter of these trees and be nurtured by the food generated by these trees, because no one likes to eat only lettuces, or no one likes to eat only carrots for the rest of their lives. So the cows, they don't like to eat only grass, if we could have more diversity of food for them without having to buy them from inorganic source of production, that would be even better. If we could produce the food there where they live and not be worried about having to irrigate in the system, not be worried about a lack of food. Because when you see systems where our animals live nowadays, it's very sad. They live in the burning sun with very just grass to eat, and we expect them to have a good life. We don't like to live in the burning sun every day, so I think that the animals don't as well, and neither does the plants. The plants, they don't like to live. There are some plants that they like to have some shelter, some plants that likes to be sheltered by others, some plants that likes to give shelter to other plants. And when we're talking about self-resilience, self-sustainability, self-sufficiency, we need to work with this system that's already in place, the system that's been working this planet for billions and billions of years, that produce food for so much living organisms in this planet. All we need to do is understand how it works and put our food production system in accordance, in alignment with the ecosystem. And that's what we call agro-ecosystem, agroecology, you know? And that's my message for the devotees, for the farmers in this planet. Because I travel a lot around the world, and I hear a lot from people that, oh, but we don't have irrigation here. Nothing grows without irrigation in this area. It's a lie, because if you look around, there are trees living without irrigation all over the place, you know. And every place that I've been in this planet, there is an ecosystem that's functioning properly without any inputs at all. So if we understand how this system works, we can put our food production systems and our animal uh, creation system into place. And that's my message for everyone. And when you take out of the context of a farm and you try to bring it to communities, to cities, and how can we do that in a better way? Again, we need to understand, where do we live, what would grow on that area, on that season, on with that climate, and try to grow it in harmony with the natural processes. What I mean, the natural processes is try to use what's already there, especially in Krishna farms around the globe. There is a lot of manure from the animals. There is a lot of seeds from the plants on the surroundings, and we can collect these seeds and implement agroecosystems that can be highly abundant. There is a system in Brazil, close to Brasilia, being nurtured by a beautiful farmer, João Pereira, where he grows around. There was a study made that he was able to grow over 70 tons of food per hectare on using syntropic farming methodology. over 70 tons of food per hectare. So I guess that's a lot of food. That is enough to feed the entire community. And how does he do it? Understanding the natural processes of life. When I talk about natural processes of life, is what is the natural processes of human life? Okay, our grandparents came, create conditions for our parents came, create conditions for us, we came, we are create conditions for our kids. And that's what we call natural succession in life, in a human life. In the plant's life, they are the same. Some plants comes first to create conditions and nutrition and um, climate for the next generation, and the next generation comes in, create as a community, not one plant, as a community. They come in, they create conditions for the next generation of plants, and that plant creates generation. And every time, life becomes more abundant and more complex. And that's the way that the community of plants works together towards abundance. So if we are growing food in our backyard, we don't want to grow one citrus here, another citrus over there, and another mango over there. We need to understand, what are the plants that can grow together with citrus? What are the plants that can grow together with mangoes? Because plants grow in different times and they occupy different space in the system. And this is a natural law. It's not like, well, because Thiago is saying so. It's a natural law. That's what happens in nature. And if we break a law, we gotta pay a price. In most of the case, when we try to break the law of natural succession, putting the right plants in place at the right time in the right community. What we do, we place them separated. The plants stress out, they get sick, or in most of the case, they don't cycle nutrients, and then we have to bring inputs, organic or not. We still have to bring. That's the price that we pay for breaking the natural law of natural succession, plants growing together. And we cannot live bringing inputs into our land all the time. As you guys could see through this COVID, a lot of transports, importation, exportation got canceled or stopped, and a lot of the some of the inputs could not be shipped around. And imagine if you have a farm, you rely on external inputs, and suddenly out of the blue you cannot have these inputs anymore. What do? Because you don't understand that how this natural process, how nature works. And let's study another case another scenario that could happen. Imagine you're pumping water out of the ground, or you are relying on the water spring that comes down into your property. Imagine with these extensive droughts that we're having, this water table dries out, or your water springs dries out. What will you do if you don't know how to grow food without irrigation? If your orchards rely 100% on irrigation, what do? And I bet that we lived in this planet without irrigation for hundreds of thousands of years. And especially the plants being here without irrigation, without pipes for hundreds of billions of years. So why do we need to use these fertilizers, these inputs? Why do we need to use irrigation? Because we don't understand the natural process of life. Because if we understand, we could grow our systems exactly how nature does, understanding how each plant belongs in a time and space, and then we can put them all together, and then they can grow together as a community, and not only grow together happy with minimal inputs or no inputs at all, but also provide very rich, nutritious food for us to eat. And yes, I think that's my main message out of this. How we can grow better food is how do you start a syntropic farm? Thank you. That's a very good question. First of all, you need to choose an area that you have in your farm, and in this, by choosing an area, you can mark where your garden beds will be, and then choose the plants. And I highly recommend you guys to do a little research on what is syntropic farming. There is a lot of videos online that you can get your head around what it is, and join some of the workshops that's happening all over the world at the moment. There is a lot of online content there. But basically, is you choose an area, choose where your garden bed is going to be, choose the selection of plants that will fulfill the function over time and different space, what we call natural succession and stratification. And once you chose the plants, the right plants, you plant them at the beginning of the rainy season. Okay, with those plants that you plant, you're gonna plant your veggies that will grow very fast in a couple of weeks, or the first few weeks and first few months, and they will survive beautifully because you plant at the beginning of the rainy season. They will have a couple of months of rain, and these veggies will come first and create conditions for your fruit trees that will come in a medium term. And these fruit trees will also grow with the forests of the future. So basically, you can start your syntropic farming by choosing the area, marking where your garden beds will be, choosing the plants accordingly with the natural succession and the stratification, and choosing the plants that you like to eat and the plants that can grow at that time in that season, and then just work with the system. It's not an easy thing to understand. Actually, we're talking about uh, 500 billion years old system that's been working in this planet. And if you really want to understand that, how it works, it would be good to do a little research and try to work with these principles. Okay. Yeah. Kalakanta, is there any other question that's coming up online for us? A common question that I get all the time is, how many plants should we plant together in a community? If you really want to mimic how nature works, we by putting all the combination of plants that will work over time through space, like we put between 20 to 100 plants per square meter. So it means that every meter you have between 20 to 50 plants growing together. And why am I saying that? Because people always ask if plants, they don't compete to each other. As I said at the beginning of this talk, in nature there is no competition. There is only cooperation and collaboration. All these plants, they work perfectly together and in harmony to potentialize and help each other to have a better life. So that's one of the questions that I get all the time. And another question that I get is, does this work everywhere, anywhere in the planet? So, yes, wherever there is a tree or there was a tree, it works. Okay. And it works in cold climates, it works in hot climates, on the tropics, in the subtropics, in temperate climates, in the arid, semi-arid conditions. It works everywhere. How do I know? Because nature has been working in these places for millions and billions of years. So, and we are doing systems on some islands on the Caribbean, islands of Curacao, Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago, Costa Rica, and here in Vanuatu, Fiji, and there are people doing systems like that in Europe, Germany, Portugal, and we have been doing that here in Australia in different conditions. I've just did a system on the outback of Australia where it's very, very dry. Last year, the whole year, they had like around 75 milliliters of water, like less than 100 milliliters of water the whole year. And the system is working. It's thriving. It's growing. Yeah, so the system works everywhere, in every climate. And people ask me, so do I need a farm to grow the system? Do I need to have a big farm? No, you can start with 1 square meter. If you have 1 square meter in your backyard, if you don't have 1 square meter in your backyard, you can buy a little pot of 25 by 25 or 1 by 1 by 1, and that's your square meter. And there in this square meter, you can put a whole of combination of plants together, from little veggies like radishes, rockets, lettuces, eggplants, sweet potatoes, papayas, pineapples, mangoes, avocados, everything growing together in the same pot at the same time, in the same square meter. And you can do 1 square meter a day or 1 square meter a week, and doesn't take much time. The day we did 20 linear meters, 20 meters by 1 by 20, and took us like 4 hours, one person, 20 meters. So if you do 5 meters in a day, that will take you like an hour, you know? So in 1 hour, you can do a lot. And if you understand a little bit of the combination of plants, you can put all these plants together, and they will provide you a lot of food. In 1 square meter, for example, you can put around, I would say, 20, 30 rocket plants or radishes plants with 10 or 15 lettuces, with together with 2 or 3 eggplants, with 1 papaya tree, 3 pineapples, one avocado tree, and a few other plants that you can still put in there at the same time. So talking about like over 50 plants just there, all growing together happily as a community, all working in cooperation and collaboration. And no, they don't compete, they don't steal nutrients from each other. And if we are building the system, the only thing that it's part of the principle of building a syntropic farming is managing. If you creating life, you got to learn how to manage it. If you make babies, you don't just make the babies and let them grow free. They grow free. You got to manage them. You got to nurture them. You got to make sure that they have conditions to live in that time and space. That's the same with the forest or a mini forest in that case. And it's doable. You can do that in your backyard, in your balcony. If you have a farm, you have no excuse. It's doable. It's beautiful to do, and it's so satisfying as well. Okay. What other questions do I get? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Thiago, that was wonderful explanation, and I think you covered from someone who is living in a city, has a small plot of land or even a pot, up to a farm. And it's really exciting to hear that, because many of the farms which I visit, I can see that people lack that understanding of how nature works, and you've touched that. I think that's a very important principle, and I believe that you tend to work with systems which we just showed before, like this one which is you were explaining about, right?
Yes. So for me, what is a system, Kalakanta? System is, doesn't matter if it's a human body system, if it's a computer system, if it's a car system, a system or a forest system or agricultural system. What is a system? It's different elements made of different materials, in different shapes, with different functions, all working together towards one goal. Okay? So if I have a system car, and expect my car to function properly, I should have all the pieces, all the elements in place, fulfilling their function. If I have an agricultural system, I need to have all the pieces of the system in place to make sure that that system is functioning properly. Okay? So if we got to build a system, we need to understand you don't buy a car and just start assembling it not knowing how it works. You got to put the wheel where the wheel is, the engine where the engine is, the seats where the seat is, and so you can get a car to function. That's the same with agriculture. If we're going to build a system, agricultural system, we need to understand how a system functions. And the best input that you could have is knowledge.
Fantastic. And on that note, someone is asking us, Peter is making a question to us, and his question is, Hare Krishna, where can we find information on suitable combination of plants? That's a very good question.
Okay, what I will do is I'll share with you Kalakanta so you can post on the medias, social medias, and all the channels there. Very easy guides, like made for kids, that we can read some easy ways to understand the system, and also there is some easy combination of plants that you can put them all together as well.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. So Thiago is promising to give us a very, very simple, interesting guides. And by tomorrow, those of you who are watching us, we'll publish that on our Facebook, on our YouTube channel, and also on the conference. Thiago, on that note, I'd really like to thank you. We have here someone who is in America, Bashu Ghosh Prabhu. He's definitely advocate of simple living, of cow protection, and he wrote Vande Go Mataram, which is a very beautiful sentence in India. And what I like to say is a big thank you to you. And we hope to develop systems, as you mentioned, in India, in Vrindavan, in Mayapur, and start having workshops on a regular basis. And I'm sure if you watch tomorrow, Subhash Palekar, you see how he is really into the fine tuning of nature. Plus, he's looking at the subtle knowledge of India from Jivamrita and all this Ayurveda knowledge, which combines into agriculture also. So I think East and West, that was Prabhupada's mission. He wanted to join the East and the West. And I think if we join that, we have a great scope under the ban of agroecology, as you mentioned earlier. So thank you so much.
All
And
right, thank
someone,
you.
and someone just gave a thank you. I'd like to say that he just wrote, "Thank you for organizing the conference. Can you please elaborate more on how to do farming without good irrigation? India, we are getting land where salty water is coming. Can we talk on this type of land?" That's Harinam Sevak Prabhu. Wow, what a question, huh? It's a beautiful question, deserves a whole seminar. What do you say?
Yeah, actually, one of the purpose of what we do is try to understand how to plant water. Okay, how can we plant water? And we do this type of agriculture in very dry conditions, in very dry climates, and even in these places, there are plants that grows very healthy and they thrive very well. So yeah, as you said, I would need at least another 2 or 3 hours here just to explain that topic.
But
But
Harinam, what I like to say to Harinam Sevak Prabhu, I think your question is really important because we do tend to either depend on rains, which is good, and but sometimes rains are not coming so regularly, or we have salty water, and that's a problem. And there are technologies where you use less water, as Thiago is saying, and those technologies with the right plants do combine great results. What we can do to your question, I think, Thiago, is that we can open ourselves to a later replying to him and then making more public the response. What do you say to that?
yeah, I'll be more than happy to accommodate more questions and answer most all these questions. And even if you Kalakanta agrees, in the future we might be able even to run an online seminar about how to actually go through these whole principles step by step.
I think that's a goal of the conference, is to bring experts closer to devotees, and that's definitely on our mind. Not only mine, but also the Indian representatives have discussed that to some degree. Okay, so thank you so much, Thiago. We need to move. We have another great speaker. Thank you very, very much. And we
Thank
will
you very
actually,
much.
yes, we'll be in touch and we'll be looking forward to your links. So tomorrow they'll be asking about this beautiful guides of choosing plants and companion plants. All
I'll
right.
send it all to you now through
Okay.
WhatsApp and you forward it to them. Thank you, everyone. And I'm really looking forward to implement this everywhere in this planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tiago. It was a pleasure having you with us.